everybody. My name's Alan. On behalf of the crew of the show, I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Bridging Heaven and Earth. You know, tonight I was sitting at dinner with some friends. Some friends came up to come to the show tonight, and we were just talking about how oftentimes we all feel isolated. We all feel like we're doing this show in Santa Barbara and someone else is doing a concert in LA or a concert in Minnesota or a concert in Beeldorf in Germany or Switzerland or Denmark or wherever. And we feel like, where is the connection? Then we were really talking about how it's really not the connections that we see all the time. It's that connection of love, that vibration of love that's going out. That when we've talked about this on the show so many times before, is that this show, Bridging Heaven and Earth, and what we're trying to do with all the crew and all the people who come in literally from all over the world to be guests on the show, is to put out that vibration of love in every way we can, in the studio, through the airwaves, and to have that spread. And that's what people are doing with their concerts in LA, with their workshops in Germany, with their meetings in Africa. And then that vibration comes out and it spreads and spreads, and then it hits the other vibrations of love and it changes things. And not always we can see the change in its specific confluence in linear time, but it really happens. And all of a sudden the Berlin Wall is down. And how did that happen? How did we end up with no Berlin Wall after having one for so many years, and to think that it would last for 1,000 more years? And that is what we're all trying to do, all of us. We are connected to that one, that this show and all about it is dedicated to that oneness, that experience of the truth, where we all are the same, where we all are the same family. And that's, again, what this show is about. And also, I wanted to also talk tonight a little about the Bridging Heaven and Earth Foundation. I mean, we've talked about it a little bit. It's just recently been formed. And what that hope is for that foundation is to once again add momentum, to spread that vibration of love. One of the aspects of it is to make sure that in all the big cities, at least in the United States and hopefully around the world, that if possible, Bridging Heaven and Earth could be on. Even the cities that don't have public access, perhaps being on the least access station. So if money was available, we could pay to get it on in Chicago, perhaps, or pay to get it on in Miami, Florida. The very big markets where we're hoping to get those shows and those vibrations of love out in a more expansive way. And also to make sure, once the time is available and the technology is available, to make sure that all the Bridging Heaven and Earth shows are available on the internet. So anyone all over the world, whether they have a particular cable channel or a cable station or not, can get Bridging Heaven and Earth just as long as they have an internet access. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, wherever you are, in a museum or an American Express office, if they have an internet connection, in Africa, in Asia, anywhere, in a chamber of commerce, in a museum, in a library, just so that that vibration of love can get out and out and out and out. And then one of the other aspects, one of the bigger things that maybe is a little bit further down the road, depending on really everyone's support and everybody's seeing this as an opportunity to share that love and share that vibration, would be to form a large-scale retreat and communication center, which would have a publishing house, a TV studio, a recording studio, a radio station, and marketing arms for all of these aspects. So we're in a unique position where we see tremendous numbers of extraordinarily talented people through books or CDs or music or chants or all kinds of different energetic manifestations, and they have no outlet for it. There's very little distribution, so that just sits. Now, not that it doesn't change the world, not that it's not beautiful, but how can we propel that? How can we get that so it reaches more and more people, so more and more people know of the extraordinary book that's being written or is written now and is sitting, 950 out of the 1,000 copies is sitting in a garage somewhere in Oregon or in Germany. We see all these books, and these are the people we have as guests on the show. But how can we get that out more? And that's a real dream of ours. And to also have a piece of land where we can hold retreats, and perhaps zoning being what it is, who knows, but to have all these facilities in one place so people from all over the world can come, and we could have the facilities and the capacities to really provide an enormous communication center. And the only purpose the only purpose for this show is to spread that vibration of love, to let that energy come through music, come through book, come through channeling, come through crystals, come through all different kinds of people, whether it's Buddhism or Christianity. It's only about that love. If it's not, I was saying to somebody else, how do you pick guests? It can't be exclusive and it can't be arrogant. Any path is fine. It's just, is that love behind it? Is that humbleness behind it? Is that surrender to that one true experience behind it? And when that begins to happen, it just changes the world. And that's what the Bridging Heaven and Earth Foundation is about. And tonight's show, we have we have one person, and we have music and art that exemplify that again and again and again. We have Rain Morgan with us. She has a spiritual radio talk show in LA. I was a guest on the show with another associate from Bridging Heaven and Earth, and it was a beautiful show, and we have a lot of comments from it. She's a spiritual teacher, and she's a healer with stones and crystals. She's brought some crystals with her and some wands of some kind that she's going to discuss. And actually, I understand, I was just told that she made an extraordinary offer of this unbelievable, I don't know what you'd call it, what would you call it? A wand, this incredible wand. Rain's not too far away from her. And we also have been, an extraordinary thing happened. Hermine Baker donated this wonderful piece of Peter Max art, Tropical Flowers. It's an original lithograph, signed lithograph. And I think you're seeing it on camera now. So we're going to show you more of that, and I'm going to talk to you about it. And we're also, one of the things we're doing in the way we're going to support the foundation is to have art either donated to us or in some way for us to be a channel for the extraordinary art that exists, that inspiring art, and somehow use that as a springboard to fund the foundation, to fund that spreading vibration of love. And we also have gotten a lot of requests recently for this video that we had shown before. It was a slideshow with Walter Matheson, and the music behind it was the song Heaven and Earth that Leslie and I wrote together, and Leslie, I think, has performed on the show also. But this one is with Walter Matheson slideshow. It's really extraordinary, and it just really suits the music. So again, we're just delighted to be with you. We're delighted to have Rain here. We'll show you the art. We'll show you the Leslie video. And really, for all of us, wherever you are out there, we're all together, we're all one. That experience can be had. If we're not having that experience, it can be had. There are enormous numbers of teachers and tools and ways to have that experience. But in a human body, that's the experience we want. To know that love, to know that connection, and to live in that light and that love. So please, as we normally do at this time, join me in a short meditation, then we'll come back, we'll have a video, we'll have Rain, we'll have the artwork, and we'll just have another show where the real sole purpose of this, no matter what we're talking about, is to spread that vibration of love. So please join me in a short meditation. Thank you. And I also wanted to mention, I forgot that another thing we've just worked out is there's this wonderful organization on the internet called Giving Capital that works with the public broadcasting company, public television and public radio, with the Elizabeth Blazer Foundation. They work with a lot of really the highest class nonprofits, and we discussed, the Bridging Heaven and Earth Foundation with them. And we've worked out a collaboration with them. We're now, through the Bridging Heaven and Earth website, which is Heaven to Earth, T-O in the middle, heaventooearth.com. People anywhere in the world can make donations through their credit card to the Bridging Heaven and Earth Foundation right through the internet, through this organization. There's a whole campaign page. And So, I mean, if people feel that it's an opportunity for them, there is a way to do that through the Bridging Heaven and Earth website, heaventoearth.com. So we're really excited about that. That's just within the last couple of weeks that's been set up. So why don't we start now tonight's show with the video. It's the song is Heaven and Earth, written by myself and Lesia. It's from the CD, Lesia Bridging Heaven and Earth, and the slides by an old friend of the show, Bridging Heaven and Earth, Walter Matheson. So if I've said Bridging Heaven and Earth enough times by now. So whenever the video is ready.
Mason was the sweetest kid and knew an awful lot. Till he grew up and got busy and then somehow he forgot the stars dancing in his head that connected all inside. His world was more wide open then. He really had it right when he knew the bridge between heaven and earth. He knew the magic of love when all it was a word. Jenny was a happy girl. She found bliss in every way. Then she had a life to run and there was no more time to play. And though her long-haired dreams came true, they didn't fit her way. She kept thinking she'd forgotten something, but she couldn't really tell. She lost the bridge between heaven and earth. She lost the magic of freedom, and all it was worth. Why does our childlike wonder begin to slip away? Why does our open heart close down more every day? Why does our trusting spirit slowly fade to gray? Two TVs and three telephones keep us on the line. We look good on the outside, but we left our joy behind. Well, Mason saw the stars once, and Jenny knew the truth. With a packaging so good as we seldom seem to choose to take the bridge between heaven and earth. Feel the magical oneness. We all stand to birth to know the power of love and what it's worth. To take the bridge between heaven and earth. Take the bridge between heaven and earth. Mason was the sweetest kid who knew an awful lot. Jenny was a happy girl, but somehow they forgot.
Hi, we're back on the set with Wayne. Hi, Wayne. Thanks
Hi.
for coming. So why don't you talk a little about your radio show? And it's called Ask Mother Earth, right?
It's called Ask Mother Earth. Well, I do 2 radio shows. I do
How come
one.
we only got invited for one? That's already we got a problem.
Well, the second show that I do is a show just for children. So the first show that I do is on Monday morning, and it's on KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and we're on Monday morning 9 to 10. That's the show that you were on, and that's called Ask Mother Earth. And the second show is on Tuesday afternoon 4 to 5, and that's called Mother Earth and Family. And this is the first quarter, the first season that we have done the children's show, and I have felt for a long time that it might be some of the most important stuff that I do, because we have got to begin to raise some children that stay conscious, that stay awakened. And so the mission of the show is to help parents raise awakened, conscious children.
And how's the response been? It seems like people will be really supportive of that.
You know, it really has done very well. As you probably know, on public radio, it can be difficult. You know, I don't get paid for doing it, whatever.
We're aware of that. Definitely aware of that.
Whatever advertising or, you know, whatever happens comes out of my pocket or the people who care about the show.
Right.
But we know we're doing well because we get phone calls. And, you know, that's really the only way you can measure how well the show is doing, by the amount of calls that you get. But we really have had a good response.
And how did you come to pick the name Ask Mother Earth? How did that work out?
Well, I'm not sure that I picked it. It kind of came to me because I've been on radio now for 5 years. I've been doing radio. And originally, the show was called The Shifting Paradigm. And the new quarter rolled around, and I had to fill out all the new paperwork. You have to do that every quarter, you know, fill out all the new stuff. And something didn't feel right to me about the name of the show. And I thought Shifting Paradigm was kind of cool, you know. And I heard the voice in my head that said, no, it's Mother Earth. And the name of the show should be Ask Mother Earth. So that's how it came to be.
Not It's Mother Earth.
Ask Mother Earth.
Uh-huh. Now, you've had an interesting, history. I mean, your life story's been incredibly interesting with some extraordinary events in it that brought you to this station at this time, right? Why don't you talk about that a little?
Well, interesting is an interesting word for that, for my life. It has been interesting. You know, I know that there are lots of people out there that would think that it probably was a very hard life, a very difficult life, a horrific childhood, if you will. I was born into a family that really abused me in every way that you can think of. But, you know, we choose the parents that we're born to. We all have a mission. We have something that we have to do. The earth is in great changes. And I chose to come into that. And in 1978, I moved to California. I left it all behind. I knew that I had to get away and make some changes, or my life wasn't going to amount to anything. And, you know, on some level,
From
I knew
where to
that.
where?
I was born in Meadville, Pennsylvania.
Oh.
And so I moved to California, and to kind of set up the event that took place January 20th, 1980, for several weeks, I had been really troubled. Something was really deeply bothering me, and I knew that it was God, but I couldn't understand. You know, and I found myself asking God what he was, trying to understand what God was. And I was thinking to myself, it can't be the way the churches, the way the religions are teaching. It just can't be, because everything's falling apart around us. We have so much crime and people living in the streets, and nothing made sense to me. And so I had been talking with a friend. We had been up all night long, and he was attempting to teach me about God. And all of a sudden I looked up at the clock, and it was 3:45 in the morning, and I said, I have to go. You know, I've got to go to work. And I went charging down the street, and something happened. I'm not sure whether my brakes went out, whether the master cylinder went out. I don't know what happened, but I just remember looking ahead of me, realizing that there was a car sitting there at the light. I hit the brakes, and nothing happened. And I slammed in to the back of the car. And I didn't realize that there were two cars in front of it. You know, it was dark, the street wasn't well lit. And so I hit that car, it hit the car in front of it, it hit the car in front of it.
And they're still hitting.
And they're still hitting.
It's like a domino
You can
series
still
going
hear them
everywhere,
going
right.
crash. But what I realized when everything came to a stop, that I had broken the rear view mirror. And the only thing that I thought about at that time was what it was going to cost me to fix the windshield and the broken rear view mirror.
And these 22 cars in front of you.
I didn't even think about them. And I didn't realize, you know, the severity of the accident. And
were you hurt? Were you, as far as you knew, were you physically hurt? Or were you in shock?
No, I was in shock. I didn't feel anything. And as the car kind of came to a stop and I sat back in my seat and I looked at the rear view mirror, that was off, the windshield was broken. In that second, the car in front of me, the gas tank exploded.
Wow.
And it threw gas and fire all over my car. And I sat there for a second and I thought, I better get out.
Shrewd.
Smart move.
You weren't that in shock, I guess. They know not to get out of
Yeah,
the
I
burning
thought,
car.
well, you should get out of this fire here that's going on. This,
Right.
you know, might not be a real happy experience here. So I tried the door handle. I was aiming to get out of the car, and it was cast in cement. Nothing happened.
Wow.
I just pulled the door handle, and nothing happened. And I thought, oh, no problem. I'll get out on the other side.
You remember this specifically? You were that
I
clear.
remember. I remember every instant of it.
Wow.
I thought I was going to go across the seat and get out on the passenger side, and that's when I realized that I was pinned. I didn't realize that the whole front of the car had moved back, and the steering wheel was against my solar plexus, and the dash had my knees pinned. And I realized that I sat back up, and I realized that my worst fear in my whole life was going to come to pass. I've always been afraid of fire, always afraid of burning, and my worst fear was going to happen. I was going to burn to death in this car, consciously.
Right, so this was like a dream come true in reverse.
Yeah. It was a dream come true, a nightmare come true.
Oh, baby. So those were a few really beautiful seconds when that realization was like,
Do you call them beautiful there, Alan?
only,
You haven't
only
had
from
this
Brooklyn.
experience.
Only from
From Brooklyn.
Right.
Exactly. Because if you'd have been sitting in Anaheim in the front seat of my car, you might
was
not have thought it
very
was so great.
terrifying.
It was. I became very angry.
Wow.
And they say, you've heard people say your whole life flashes in front of you. It does, in a sense. I began to scream at God inside my mind, I think. I don't know whether I was talking out loud, but I was telling God about everything that had happened to me. Broken bones, on and on.
You mean from
As a
childhood?
childhood.
And how could you have done this, allowed this to happen?
Allowed this to happen, and now you're going to burn me to death.
Right, just
On
the
top of
fait
everything.
accompli, the whole,
Yes,
right.
just to complete the whole scenario, you're going to burn me
You
to death.
busted me up for the times a kid making a
Thanks
fried
very
and-
much.
This is, thank you very much for this.
This was kind of like bridging hell and earth,
Right,
you know?
Right.
So I can't tell you exactly how this happened, how it came to pass, but I left my body. And I lost all sense. There was no sensation, no emotion. It was just euphoria. And I realized that I was sitting what I now call the void, total blackness. And there were spheres of colored light, but I could hear the color, different colors, and they would appear in front of me, and then they would disappear, and they would appear someplace over here, and the lights changed colors. There were pinks and blues and greens, beautiful colors, but each color had a sound. And I sat there for a second, and I didn't know if I wanted to be ever anyplace else. But something inside me began to talk, and I asked God not to let me burn to death in the car. And in that second, I was back in my body. The door popped open. My legs came out from underneath the steering column. And the only way that I can explain it is I became liquid, because the door only popped open about that far. And while this was 1980, and I probably was a good,
You weren't that
who
thin.
even knows
Right,
how
but
much
you weren't
thinner.
that thin.
I wasn't that thin. And I slid through the door.
Wow.
I was real shaky, you know, my legs were, I remember it was hard for me to walk, my knees were shaky. And I kind of stumbled up, and then was when I realized that I'd hit all these cars, and I was standing looking up at the traffic signal, and someone came alongside me and they slipped an arm around me, and then someone came from the other side and they slipped another arm, and they carried me to the street and they laid me down. And I'm very sure that only a few seconds went by, but I looked over my shoulder and the car just went boom.
Your car.
Exploded up into the sky. So I was probably only out of the car, you know, maybe 30 seconds when it exploded.
And did other people get hurt, or was everybody else in there?
You know, nobody really got hurt badly.
Amazing.
The man in front of me had some cuts on his leg, and I think he had some cuts on his forehead, but no one was hurt badly.
So from this night, I mean, how did that change the way you moved through your life?
Changed everything.
What was your experience when you were having this with the colors and the lights? What was the experience of peace, of love? I mean, you know, it's described in a lot of ways, and you know, we've all had it doing different things, or most of us probably at one time or another. But would you say it was completion, fulfillment, bliss? I mean, how would you?
Well, I think that I used the word euphoria. And, you know, when you're in a state like that, you don't really think in words.
No, I'm asking you to describe it, even 12 years or 22. It was 78 or 80?
It was 1980,
80.
January 20th, 1980.
So 20
etched
years ago.
indelibly.
Right.
Yeah, it was. You know, I just knew that I was sitting, everything around me was black, and what I remember most was listening to the color of the spheres, because each color had a sound, and there are no words for the sound. There are no words for sound, music. What I really don't know what label to put on what I was listening to, but the color was sound, and they were one together.
And so how did this change, you know, your days in the future from that?
Well, the first thing that happened to me was they took me to see the car. And, well, before that, everyone came into the hospital to see me. The paramedics, the fire truck people,
You mean
everybody.
no one could believe you had gotten out
Nobody
of it?
could believe it, because the metal had split on the fender. See, the fenders overlapped the doors, and the metal had to split 9 inches before the door could pop open. And so they were calling me super broad, which I thought was kind of cute,
Right.
super broad. But they took me to see the car. And it was really profound, because there was nothing left of the car but the 2 back wheels and the body. The glass looked like great icicles melting and hanging down. The fire was very,
To say
very
this
hot.
was totaled was not even a
Right,
question
right,
whether it was totaled or not.
The car was totaled. But I gave my life to God that day. And I really had no concept of what that meant or what was happening. I became born-again Christian. I was baptized.
So you associate at that point God with Jesus and the
with
Catholic
Christianity.
Church?
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. I did. And I spent about 1.5 years in the church. And that's kind of a story too, because I had a lot of experiences in that church that would turn most people away from God. Very large church in Anaheim, and I had some things happen, you know, that were really incredible. But I left Christianity, per se. I didn't leave God, but I left the church. And it took about 2 years for everything to sink in, you know, that I was becoming extremely psychic. I was an empath at the deepest level.
Why don't you describe how you experience being psychic? Actually, maybe what we'll do now is we were talking about the donated arts. Why don't we do that, and when we come back, we'll talk about what it means for you to be psychic and you to be an empath. Because I know we use those terms, and I might know what you mean, but maybe I don't know the exact specificity. Okay. So why don't we do that? Okay. So now we were talking at the opening about the thrust we have about the operating director, Shelley Flanders, has been an art agent in different forms of art in her whole life as an artist herself. And she's interested in working with artists to help support the Bridging Heaven and Earth Foundation. And so one of the first people she discussed this with had this beautiful tropical flowers lithograph by Peter Max. Hermine Baker donated this to the Bridging Heaven and Earth Foundation, and I think you probably saw some pictures of it at the opening. But I wanted to talk about that a little bit and just encourage people, if they have things like that. We really feel like it's part of our mission to spread art in the world, and through art to spread that vibration of love. So if you see it, you'll see that the art itself, the Peter Max print, is 30 by 23, and the frame is 37 by 30. I think it is signed by Peter Max in the lower left corner or the right corner. I've been told it's floated in a lovely wooden frame. I guess now you're seeing a close-up of it. And we're really thankful to be able to have this painting, and to be able to allow this painting in whatever way to do benefits or stuff, or maybe to auction it off at some point, to allow us to raise money for the foundation, to enable us to spread the Bridging Heaven and Earth message, which is really about the oneness and the inclusiveness of all of us together and all of us collaborating together. So, if any way we can encourage people, if they have art they'd like to donate, we're a 501c3 nonprofit corporation, IRS. So all the donations are IRS tax deductible, and we're really excited about that. And Shelley, the operating director, has talked to. I think she has a meeting next month with Peter Max in terms of dealing with him on a more specific basis, and perhaps even him doing a whole series based on the Bridging Heaven and Earth show or the Bridging Heaven and Earth theme. And she's also been in contact with this incredible glass artist, Jahuli. I think he's up in Washington or Oregon. And so, I mean, if anybody's watching this show who can help us and collaborate with us in any way, who wants to participate in any way with the foundation, wants to participate in the art part of the foundation, please give us a call, 805-687-2053. Check out the website, heaventoearth.com. And we're just looking for more and more of that love and more and more of those points of light to collaborate with us and to spread that vibration and that message of love. So, we're just, again, delighted, and we want to thank Hermine for donating this piece of wonderful art to us. And, it's a start for us to begin this process to really bring that message out and to collaborate with as many people throughout the world and to feel that feeling of inclusion and that feeling of connectedness. So again, I just wanted to allow, our audience who've been so supportive of us this is the 108th show, and so supportive of us to, as we proceed, and encouraging us to know our next steps and our next steps with the foundation, because it's really an important thing for us. So I don't really have much more to say about this, but any support you can give in any way you see this as an opportunity to work with us and work with the whole crew and work with the whole foundation, we just would love to work with you and to play with you and to collaborate with you on that. So let's get back to Rain and her story. So what does it mean to you to be an empath? What does it mean to you to be psychic. How did you experience it that way?
Well, as you probably know, an empath is someone who feels the emotions of another person. And when this first came to me, I was at a party, and a woman was wearing a beautiful ring. And I said, "Oh, your ring is beautiful. May I look at it?" And I expected her to hold her hand out and show it to me, but instead she took it off and she put it in my hand. And the second that I held the ring, her whole life, it seemed to me, was laid bare to me. I knew that she had 2 sons. One had a drug habit. The other was financially successful. I knew that she was going through a divorce. I knew that she had had 3 miscarriages, and on and on.
Really?
And,
Wow.
and it was my first experience.
What if I gave you my handkerchief with it? No,
Well,
no, that would probably not.
as long as you didn't
Boy,
throw your
yeah,
nose
no.
on it or anything.
Boy,
there,
you guys are not a clean person.
So that was psychometry. It's called psychometry. And so that was really my first experience. And I began to want to do this for everybody. I wanted to touch everything. I wanted to experiment and play with this. And then I realized that a couple of years later, I realized that the minute that I got within someone's magnetic field, I could feel them. That was when I realized that someone said to me, "Well, that's being an empath," and that was explained to me.
Would some people have a stronger vibration so you could feel them further away, or
Well,
was it all the same? I mean, would like the Dalai Lama have the same energetic field as,
Well, the Dalai Lama has worked with that. He has it's an art for him now, and I'm sure that he can feel or think or hear or see whatever he turns into.
Would you be able to sense him? Would he have a different energetic field for you to experience it as someone else?
Oh yes,
Yeah,
oh yes.
definitely.
Everyone has a pattern in their energy field that is only theirs. Everyone feels different to me. I have since learned to turn that off. I don't need to feel everyone. I don't need to hear every thought that I come in contact with.
So you can do it or not do it.
I
It's
can
like
do it or
turning
not
on a
do it.
radio.
Yes,
I
yes.
see.
On occasion, when I'm meant to hear something, there's nothing that I can do to stop it. It comes through. And usually that has to do when I'm put in a specific place to help someone heal something. Then there's nothing that I can do to shut it off. I hear it, I see it, I feel it, it bombards me in every way. And I've gotten used to that over the years. I'm now able to tell when I'm put someplace to do a specific healing.
When did you start working with stones and crystals as a healing modality?
Well, I've always been drawn to the stones just because they're so beautiful. I just like to look at them. But about maybe 12 years ago, 14, time runs together, I realized that I could pick up a stone and I could feel it vibrate. After I would hold it for a while and feel it vibrate, I realized that the stone would begin to talk to me. It would tell me about itself. And as that progressed, I realized, I began collecting stones. My house was full of stones. They were everywhere, and I had them. I wore, lots of stones on my body. And I realized that certain stones vibrated or spoke more in the auric field of other people. And after that progressed for a while, I realized that the stones would tell me where the illnesses were in other people's body. So they were kind of a medium, a conduit, if you will, for where other people were ill. And after a certain point of time, I no longer needed the stones. I could just, I could look at a picture and tell where someone was ill. I could walk into a room and it appears to me like dark smoke. in certain parts of your body, like for people who have, heart conditions or upper respiratory lung problems, I can see a dark smoke that floats across their chest or in that area. Whatever area of the body is unbalanced.
Now, do you
I
see that the same way, or do you turn that on and off also? Or would you, if you looked at like the audience or the crew, God forbid, but, I mean, would you see that, or would you like be able to turn that on and off? How does that work for you?
Well, like I said before, if I'm meant to be in somebody's space because they're meant to get a healing, then there's nothing I can do to turn it off.
But how about normally, like you're in Starbucks, you're in
Then I
Vons?
have to look. And, it's not my business to look at everyone. And so, as Jesus said, cast not thy pearl. I don't just walk up to people, or I don't just arbitrarily search through people's magnetic fields to see where they're ill.
Yeah, but I mean, I might not, we'll do that to somebody, and I can say, but their jeans are ripped. I could see it. I mean, I wouldn't have to turn that on and off. So would you have to turn on and off to see that their kidneys are, in other words, would you see, where I would see the jeans, would you see the kidneys?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. If I get close enough to you and I focus on you, then yes. Occasionally, I can walk into a room, or I do walk into rooms, where there'll be a lot of people standing around, and I will notice that there will be darker spots in that area, and of course that gets my attention. And then so the second that I focus in on it, then it will jump out at me. And then I hear, because I'm clairaudient. I practice, I move in and out of the different modalities.
Clairaudient meaning?
I hear.
You hear?
I hear the voices in my head, Alan. There are voices that talk to me.
Oh, baby.
What are you going to do?
But they don't talk in a language, they just like, it.
Oh, it talks in a language.
So you could actually hear words rather than knowing.
Yes, yes. I can feel when I work on somebody, when I'm healing somebody, I run my hands through their magnetic field, through their chakras, and I can feel the cracks, because first and foremost, I am an empath. So I can feel the cracks in the chakras, and that's where the illnesses and the imbalances come from.
And can you, in your gifts, put those cracks together, or heal those cracks?
Yes. I focus on where the unbalance is, where the cracks, the frays, the holes are. I pull a stream of light down through what's called the Kether sphere, the crown chakra. I pull that stream of light down through my mind and out through my hands. And in the past, I don't know how many years it's been now, probably 5 or 6 years that I'm aware of, there has been a modality called pranic healing that has come out. And so I used the methods that they teach long time before that was heard of, that I know of. But if people are familiar with pranic healing or with Reiki, I use symbols. The symbols just come to me. I can see them. You were talking about the wands, and I make wands for people.
Yeah, they're
different
very
people.
beautiful. Here's one.
Thank you. Well, I didn't make that.
See? I picked the wrong one up. Can you see it? Can you come in on this one?
That's a wand that I use for kind of a psychic surgery, if you will.
Wow.
Let's say I'm looking at someone and I know that there are black spots on their lungs. I would use that wand, I would focus the light down through the end of that wand, and I would focus that light specifically on the spots.
And this is the one you made.
Yeah, this is a little bit different, and this has symbols on it that come to me. And I make wands, and I make staffs, tall staffs, specifically for people. And when I do a reading for you...
So this is about, what, 3 feet, 4 feet, this one?
And they're all different. Some are only this long, some are longer. I used curly willow because, like life, it twists and turns and still goes in a straight line. and willow is bendable. And
So you would use this as a healing tool, even though you don't need it, because you can do it with your mind or your vibration
Well,
or...
keeping in mind that crystals and stones absorb energy, focused energy, and they literally amplify it and then send it out in a concentrated form. So if I wanted to clean this room, this big space, I would use that wand. And if you'll notice the symbols that are on it, those are symbols that are given to me for a specific person. So I carve out the symbols.
So did you make this for yourself?
No, actually, I am making that for another person.
Oh,
And I want to make you an offer for the foundation.
Go girl.
Anybody who will donate $1,000 to the foundation, I will make them a wand. I will do a reading.
That's what Shelley was telling me
We'll
before.
pick the stones because you can see all different stones are inlaid in there. So we'll choose their stones.
And what if 50 people call up? Are we going to have...
I'm going to be really busy.
So I mean everyone who calls will ask for it.
Anybody.
Wow.
Anybody,
Audience. Oh, the
Anybody.
phones are ringing already.
It should be fun.
That's fantastic.
Maybe we'll
that's
get
really
enough money out of this to buy the property. We'll have this wonderful community of healers and teachers and
You're going to
everything
be
that
busy
you
if
talk
it's going to
about.
take that much in this area.
Listen, I would love that.
I would love that too.
I would love that.
I'll help
So, okay.
You gotta
You
do
hold
it.
the sticks while I drill.
you. Now that's terrible.
Yeah. Just be careful.
You better be careful. You're holding the drill. So-
Yeah.
Right.
But you'd be on the other end of it.
I know. That's the part I'm a little dubious about. Well, that's a beautiful offer. Thank you very much. So, I mean, do you have a reputation? I mean, when I heard about you, it was like, you do this incredible radio talk show. Not that you go out and, it's interesting because I was talking to some friends today and I said, this is the 108th show. I think I mentioned that before. I don't know why it's important, but and the calls we get, the shows we get the most calls on are the people who physically are healers. Because, people when they're not feeling well want to feel better and they want to really reach out. And they don't really have to believe it, because they're desperate. And they don't have a path and they're not feeling well, so they'll reach out.
Right.
So how come you're not known more as a healer? I mean, for some reason I put up healer with stones. I mean, I don't know where I got it from, where we get everything. But how come that's not what you're known for and that's not how you, say, earn a living? Or how does that work? I'm just curious. Because we've had a lot of people on who have incredible gifts who end up spending a lot of time doing jobs they don't really like to do necessarily. Or tell us about that.
Well, it's kind of interesting because I have asked myself those questions too. I do have many people who come through my doors. I have people call me on the phone and they will say to me, well, you don't know me, but you know a friend of a friend and this person's recommended that I come and talk to you because you can maybe help me. And people just show up. But as far as being out there, I have not been allowed to do that.
And how do you see yourself being not allowed? How would you describe that?
Well, there are forces that are on the other side that oversee the earth, that work to keep everything in balance. And it hasn't been time yet for me to.
Well, there are other
come
healers out there, but you
There
feel
are
that it's
many
not
healers.
time for you.
It
for
has not been
and
time
do you know
for me.
what reason that you in Earth time, it hasn't been the time for you to manifest that gift in a more pronounced way?
Well, I had a lot of things to do for myself. Coming from the childhood that I
Do you
had.
get trained when you do a healing? Because some people do and some don't. I mean, we've had a lot of different...
Early on I did, but I really don't anymore. One thing that drains me is when I go into a room full of many people and if there's a lot of smoking or, a lot of that sort of thing going on. There's a lot of clatter and clamor in the ethers, and I hear that and I pick that up, and that does tend to drain me, but I've learned a long time ago to close all that down, and none of us have to be drained. When a healer tells you that they're drained, that they have to go rest, it's because they're not in touch with their source. because that source is constant. And we never have to be drained.
Yeah, I would say they would agree with you. It's just a matter of, we're all kind of works in progress.
You have to learn.
Right.
You have to
So,
learn.
so at this point, I mean, do you feel yourself coming in? I mean, you're announcing it on national television, so you might be,
It was given to me several months ago that it was time for me to come out and talk about not who I am, but more what I am. Who I am as a child of God, but more what I am and what I'm here to do. You know, Alan, for many years, with all the things that I heard in my head and all the automatic writing, I would write so fast on paper that I could almost not read it and not remember anything that I wrote. I thought I was pretty over the top, pretty nuts, and I thought, the little men in the white coat were just going to take me away. That's
how you got to be a guest on the show.
That's how I got to be a guest.
We're right before
Because
the
you
little
only
white
do those
men, right? We're at the cutting edge before the white guys with the
Yeah.
suits get there.
Yeah.
Come on the show, and then let the white guys.
Yeah, well, you didn't tell me that, Alan. You said we do the show and then we go eat.
That we do too.
You didn't say
We
anything
always
about
eat.
the little white men.
We always eat first. I never let someone go off to the white note without on an empty stomach. It's a
Good.
tradition of ours.
Because I'm going to be upset.
Right, no. Eating is on the agenda, trust me. We have every intention.
We can go after I eat, but
Right. That's right. So you think it is time that
Yes.
gift be made more available?
it is. It is time.
So that's very exciting.
Yeah. It's exciting. It's scary.
How so? Do you see that?
Well, can you imagine yourself standing up in front of a bunch of people or on national TV, as you say? Is it really national? And saying that I am the other side of the balance, that I am the conduit for the essence of the divine feminine. And the more of my stuff that I move, the more of the Mother Earth that can come into me. Can you imagine yourself even thinking those thoughts, let alone saying them?
Well, not for the divine female energy necessarily, but the rest of it we certainly do all the time. Yeah, I can obviously see that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what the show's about.
Right.
In all its forms. So.
And I really hope that I can do a good job supporting this on my radio show, because I do talk about this. And
yeah, I mean, really, well, we've talked about this before. We talked about it on your show. It's that feeling of inclusion.
yes,
That there's no race, there's no religion, there's
Right.
no
right,
age, there's no sexual preference, there's no anything that's not part of love. That's not part of that essence. That's not part, in essence, of the Bridging Heaven and Earth Foundation.
right.
I mean, that's the way we see it. And anybody who wants to bring their love and be part of it, come on in. I mean, everybody's got a gift to give. Some people have, wands. Some people have healing. Some people have money. They don't have the time to participate in another way. They have, beautiful artwork. They have, and that's really, to us, what's really starting to happen.
We are all a microcosm and a piece of the macrocosm. Yeah, we all
Well,
are
it's interesting,
one.
and we talk about it, even there's no other side. There's, we talk about it, and we were talking about it at, a bunch of friends were over at my house before we came over here, and it's like, you can cut, we were talking about, like, people see things as soulmates, and it depends where you cut infinity out. And if you cut infinity out, this is your family from that piece, but if you keep going back up into the root, into the one, then we're all connected.
Exactly.
And then, one of the people I was talking to has, American Indian roots, is Mataquiasin, from we're all connected from the elders, that particular thing. I mean, in all religions and all things we have that. So that's what we want to experience, not the, the cut parts,
Exactly.
to cut a piece of infinity and say, that's where we are, but to experience the root and experience that connection.
And each thing is so perfect. Each place that we all are, individually, is all perfect.
Yeah, and then, the part that the human part is that we don't always recognize that, and we suffer. And that's, that's what you're to do in your way, and Bridging Heaven and Earth is to do in our way.
Yeah.
Is to get that vibration so strong that that Berlin Wall in each of us, that Berlin Wall of fear breaks down. So, I guess we're coming to the end of the show again, so here we go. So I just want to, thank Rain and, thank Hermione for the beautiful piece of art. And again, we're all in this together. We can all share. We can all collaborate. We can really be part of something. I mean, we want the Bridging Heaven and Earth Foundation and this show to be part of all of you and to be part of the growth of love and the growth of truth. So please join with us in that. Good night. God bless you. We love you.